Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome to all Aura readers and followers. We are very honored to be in conversation with Sayyid Sadatullah Hussaini Sahib, President Jamaat-e-Islami Hind, who is also an author and a columnist of repute. Our previous guests in the conversation series have addressed questions as diverse as women's rights, financial literacy, and human rights violations across the world. Today, we hope to have a fruitful conversation revolving around the question of women's participation in social movements and public life, as well as what our plans should be for the coming year 2022. We welcome you and thank you for joining us. To start, we are having this discussion at the end of a rather tumultuous year 2021. There has been upheaval in every sense in our country, whether in terms of human rights, the continuing pandemic, the economic situation, and so on. Would you like to comment and reflect upon this and what the way ahead can be?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Yes, I agree that this was a very turbulent year and the whole country has faced many problems. The biggest problem was related to pandemic and how it was handled. Pandemic has created havoc across the globe, but the way it was handled in India, so it has created problems, lot of problems, particularly for the people in the lower strata of social and economic background. The economic growth, GDP growth has come down to the lowest level. Such growth we had never seen in post-independence history. And the main victims of this lower growth were poor and economically deprived classes. Education, it was also a major victim of this pandemic and pandemic related issues. So more than pandemic, the way it was handled in India, it was problematic and it has caused great difficulties for people. Apart the human rights violation and crimes against minorities, Dalits and other deprived classes, this continued this year also. Kisan Andolan was a major feature, a defining feature of this year, I think. The way injustices and unjust laws were created and they were enforced. So this mobilized an unprecedented farmers' struggle across country, and the way farmers fought it out and made the government to surrender and take the laws back. I think this has inspired all the activists who are working for human rights and for the rights of deprived sections. And I hope this success of Kisan Andolan will pave the way in coming year for more such struggles and for the activism to get the rights of other deprived sections.
Well summed up. As the president of a major Islamic organization and a movement, you must have a vision for what our society ought to look like at a broader level. But particularly in terms of gender justice and women's participation, what does that vision encompass? What role do women play in Jamaat-e-Islami Hind and in the larger society of which they are a part?
Yeah, I have been writing on this topic and I think the kind of position that Islam has taken about women and gender, it is most perfect and most moderate position, and it has given women dignity, respect and full rights as a human being. And in addition to that, there are provisions for her safety and security and for her well-being, considering the feminine character. I think that has been the major crisis and major dilemma that humanity has faced so far, whether to prefer freedom or to prefer safety and security. whether to prefer the rights of women as a human being or to prefer women and her feminine character. So that dilemma has created so many problems and so many deviations. Islam has given a set of rules and set of principles that creates perfect balance between both these demands, demand for security as well as demand for her rights. So I think that position has to be practically implemented. Unfortunately, even Muslim society is far away from that principled position, and our society has also fall prey to the pressures of traditional traditions and traditional societies across the world, and they have also forgotten the Islamic principles. So the main challenge regarding women is to uphold those principles and to practically implement the Islamic principles in Muslim society. So if we are successful in implementing those principles, that will be a testimony to the principled position of Islam, and I think it will be a major attraction to the other societies as well. So we need to work on both these fronts. We need to work primarily on Muslim society and try to bring back and practically implement the principled Islamic position. And secondly, we need to work for gender justice and for restoring the rights of women in other societies and contemporary societies. So on both these fronts, we need to strive. We cannot neglect Muslim society, and we can also not neglect the contemporary other societies.
On the same line, how important do you think that women's leadership is to Islamic movements and organizations? And what is being done to encourage or improve the level of women's representation in Jamaat-e-Islami Hind in leadership roles?
So Jamaat wants to bring awareness among women and man in Islamic vision. Women and man both are partners, and both are responsible for the betterment of society. So our struggle for the social reformation and reforming the whole humanity. So women are important partners. Women and man both are responsible for this task. That is what Quran has said and Quran has laid down. So active participation of women in all social activities, in all reform activities, that is very important, very crucial. And when women will start participating, obviously leadership roles also they will get. In Jamaat also, it is totally free, means women can take up any role. And now that role is gradually increasing. In all our state shuras, now women are being elected. In our Central Representative Council already there is a reservation for women, and a good number of women, they have already been elected. Even in Central Shura now we have members. Here we have established a full-fledged women's department, 2 secretaries, they are looking after it. So apart from playing the role of leadership among women, they are contributing to the mainstream movement also. They are playing a vital part in different areas that are related to men also. So I think in future that role will definitely increase. Now educated girls and very qualified and well versed scholars, they are also joining Jamaat, women scholars. So I am confident, I am sure that in future their role will be much more effective and much more prominent than as we are seeing today.
Since you spoke about the increasing representation and participation of women in our movement, how do women in the Tehreek overall balance their movemental commitments and family commitments? Is the responsibility of maintaining this balance on women themselves, or how should society help women to achieve this balance? Is there any orientation being done for men in this regard to help make this possible?
Yeah, obviously we address everybody. We are trying to educate men also that they should allow their women, and rather not allow, means rather they should help their women to become active participant and active partners in Islamic movement. So that problem is not confined to women. Family is responsibility of men and women both. Men, they also have a role in family. Grooming and tarbiyah is responsibility of mother as well as father. Father is also equally responsible for tarbiyah and grooming of his children. So everybody has to keep balance. Everybody has to maintain balance between different roles. Apart from Tehreek, we have our economic activities, we have our big business activities. We need to maintain our relations with different kind of people, our friends, our colleagues, our relatives. So everybody, men and women, they have different roles and they need to maintain that role. So I think this is not something which is expected only from women. This is equally expected from men, that they keep balance between all roles. So actual driving force is their vision, what vision you have. Islamic movement or activism for Islam is not something which is alienated from other areas of life. Islamic life is a holistic life, and it all revolves around a single holistic vision. So that holistic vision, if it is clear, so you will naturally keep balance between all your roles. Every role will strengthen every other role. If you groom your children in a good manner, they will be helpful for Islamic activism also. And if you are active in Islamic movement, if you get good education here, if you influence society, definitely that influence your family will also accept. So every role is connected to another role. So if you have a comprehensive holistic vision, what change you are expecting and what change you are visualizing, and that vision is the main driving force in your life, so automatically that balance is created. That's what I believe. And it is equally true for both for men and women. This is not something which is confined to women only. Unfortunately, that is the thing that is misunderstood, that women, if they come out and they start playing active role in social activities, their house will get affected. But I think if there is proper understanding between man and woman, that will not happen. Everybody, he will do work according to his own settings, his own compulsions of different areas of his life. So I think regarding that, education has to be given to both men and women. Men should also be educated about the importance of the role of women, and that we are doing.
You spoke of misconceptions and misunderstandings. One major complaint that Muslim women often have is the superimposition of culture and cultural assumptions over the real tenets of our faith. This works into many aspects such as marriage, public engagement, even organizational life. For instance, marriage is something that in Indian society is done evaluating everything but the piety of the potential spouse: wealth, caste, social status, physical appearances. So how do you feel that we can tackle this, and how can Islamic movements permeate into the innermost aspects of our personal lives in a positive manner?
I think that is the main agenda of Islamic movement. That is the main point around which this movement is launched, that we want to reform society as per the Islamic values. And for that, we mainly, we have been and we need to fight the cultural forces, the deviation and deviated traditions and deviated cultures that have been the major obstacle in proper implementation of Islamic values. So when you want to reform society according to Islam, the main obstacle will be cultural forces. So all cultural values that are in variance with Islamic traditions, you'll have to fight it out. So that is what Islamic movement and Islamic activities they are targeting in India, in every society. So you are, I agree with you that regarding women and gender issues, culture and the cultural forces, they are very strong. And even today in Muslim society, not only in Muslim society, even in practicing Muslim families, rather I can say, even among practicing Muslim families, culture is the main defining force in shaping their family lives or family values. Apart from the problem that you have specified, I think there are many other problems also. A main problem is regarding the inheritance. Even today, ladies, they are not given their proper share. Girls, they are not given. Other females, they are not given their proper share. Financial rights of women, even working women who earn. I came across a doctor, practicing medical practitioner, postgraduate doctor, and I was told that the whole of her income is snatched by her mother-in-law, and she has not any right over her own income. So that is the situation in India. This is because of cultural pressures. So we'll have to fight it out through proper Islamic education and through proper activities aiming at social reform. And this is not just a concern of Islamic movement, rather it is the main target and main goal of our organization, that we want to bring reform according to Islam, and for that we want to fight it out all the cultural forces that are creating obstacle in this kind of reform.
Coming to our final question, it's something that we've already discussed in this interview, but just as a conclusion, one of the major issues that has creeped into Muslim society as well as broader society is there some elements of misogyny or sexism, or as you can say, cultural misinterpretations. And on the other hand, there are an overwhelming amount of women who are getting attracted to ideologies such as feminism. So how do we address this issue, this dynamic, even when some so-called representatives of Muslim society might have contributed to women's spiritual and intellectual frustration?
Yeah. Yes, I think I agree with you. That is a very important challenge that we are facing as far as women's issues are concerned. This also I have written in several articles and books, that women, they are target of both kind of exploitation. One exploitation is from the side of traditions and traditional societies, they have exploited women, and another side is from the modernity. The modern imperialist forces, they have also exploited women, and that exploitation is equally worrisome and equally problematic with that of the exploitation by traditional forces. So we need to save women from both kind of exploitations. Modern forces or modern organizations, they try to save women from the exploitation of traditions, but they forget the exploitation that is happening in offices, in factories, in industries, and in the name of women's freedom, the way her body is being exploited, the way she has been made a sex symbol, the way she has been commodified. So that kind of exploitation they tend to forget. And on the other hand, the traditional forces, the peculiar religious kind of reformist, they try to save women from the modernist exploitation, imperialist exploitation, but they tend to forget the kind of exploitation that is happening in traditional societies, the source of exploitation that is there in traditions. So I think Islamic activism or Islamic movement, it should target and it should visualize to save women from both kind of exploitations. So that is what I think the Islamic feminist discourse should aim at. It should save women from both kind of exploitations. And for that we need to have an alternative feminist discourse. Recently in Kerala, I have told this in a speech, that although in many areas we differ from feminists, but the real feminist ideals that can be achieved only through Islam. Only through Islam. The ideals that feminism is aiming at, that is something, it is very dear to us also, and that can be achieved through Islam only. Feminists, they visualize equal status for women, they visualize dignity for women, they want women to become equal partners in all arenas of life, and they want the full potentials of women to be used for the betterment of society and humanity. So all these ideals are very dear to us, and I think the Islamic scheme, it very perfectly and in a very balanced manner provide that background and that infrastructure and that value system which can be helpful in achieving these ideals.
I think the overarching theme that we have got from this interview is the need and the necessity to have a vision for a better future, a vision where men and women would work together to bring about achieving this truth. So with that, we come to the end of our interview. It was a conversation that will stay in all our minds and help us rethink and revisit in order to work for this future. I thank you again, Saadat Hussaini Sahab, for your time and your wisdom. Thank you all.
Thank you very much.